Before jumping in, last chance to grab one of these. They're available for just a short time longer, so if you have any interest at all, please check them out. There's a link down below. Hoodies, t-shirts, etc. Bunch of different things, but I'll drop it there and get on to the actual video. Today's video is a complete guide to fishing, and more specifically, legendary fishing. There are a lot of unique little details that are not very well explained in the tutorial, and there's also a lot of benefits to fishing, so I'll try and cover all of those different things as well as possible. First things first, fishing itself unlocks automatically. You get the fishing rod and you can go fish in various places around the world. However, the legendary fish do not unlock automatically, and you actually have to go and pick them up from a stranger quest, which is located right down here, a little bit north of this very large lake in the middle. There is a specific little cabin right here, this one. If you go there, you will encounter a historic fisherman who will talk to you. There'll be some dialogue, and you'll get a map of a bunch of different legendary fish spread throughout the world. The second thing that you will need to do, though, is then head over to Lagris, and I am probably not pronouncing that correctly, but there is a bait and tackle store in the swamp right here, the bait shop. This is the location to buy the different legendary lures, or the special lures, and that's the only way that you're going to be able to catch the legendary fish, so you do need to immediately come to the bait shop after getting your map from the legendary fisherman. The map can be seen right here, and there's a bunch of different fish located throughout the world. One small tidbit that a lot of people will probably already know, but it actually took me a while to figure out, and once I did it was really helpful, is that if you zoom in, the fish itself does not mark the location. If you go to exactly where the fish graphic is, you may not find the fish. There's a little white dot right next to all of them, and that is the exact location. So if you go to that white dot, you'll unlock that fish, and then you'll be able to fish for it. Now, I didn't know this, so I was running around in the wrong area sometimes, and it may be a really dumb tip, but hopefully it helps some people. Now it's time for the actual physical fishing mechanics, and some of this is explained well by the in-game tutorial and some of it isn't. And there's a couple tips and tricks that will help a tremendous amount when you're fishing for especially legendary fish. First, it is very important where you cast your lure. There's an easy way to select your lure or your bait. You simply hold the left bumper, and then while you have your fishing rod out, and you'll be able to select either one or the other, bait or a lure. The lures, the legendary special ones, are what you're going to be using for legendary fish, but then other than that, you can select various types of bait. Anyways, when you're casting this, once you have all of your baits set up, it is very important to cast it close to you. It may be tempting to wind all the way back and do the big fluid motion like what the game suggests, but this will hurt you and drastically increase the amount of time it takes to catch even a single fish. You don't want to cast it too close so it's right by the shore, but you definitely do not want to fling it as far as possible. You want it somewhere in the middle, but edge toward it being closer to you rather than further away. This will cut down on the amount of time it takes to reel in, which means there's less of a chance that the line snaps, there's less chance for it to get tangled on other objects, there's less give while the fish is pulling, so it just results in a vastly easier experience if you keep the lure and your rod and your cast much closer to you rather than further away. When you're happy with your cast, you're just waiting for a bite, and you can slowly reel in the line, and I believe that increases the chance that the fish will bite. It increases their interest in the lure, but also you can flick the rod with the right trigger. The game tells you about this, but what it does not tell you is that if you flick too frequently, you will prevent any fish from being interested in your rod or your hook, so you don't want to be doing that. I'm not sure exactly what the timing is. It may be 5 seconds, it may be 10 seconds, but somewhere in that vicinity, you do not want to be flicking the rod more frequently than that, because you will turn away all the fish and increase the amount of time it takes to get the bite, especially from the legendary, and it makes it a lot more difficult. After you get the nibble and then the bite, it's time to reel in the fish, and you're already off to a great start because you kept the line very close to you, so you don't have very far to go. Now, when you do start reeling it in, you fight against the fish, and this is all covered by the in-game tutorial. You lead it in the opposite way in which it's struggling to tire it out, but what the game does not tell you, it does actually tell you that you can hold the right stick in any direction to prevent the fish from gaining line when it's struggling against you. Don't do that all the time. If you hold that constantly, if you never let go of the right stick and never give the fish any line, it will almost always snap, especially with large fish and legendary fish. The best method I've been able to see is that you let go of the right stick completely for about half a second, once every 3 seconds. So periodically you're letting go of the right stick, you're giving it just a tiny bit of line, and this will always, almost always, there was like one occasion where it didn't when I was testing, this will almost always prevent the line from snapping and allow you to just reel it in first try every time. As for reeling quickly, once the fish has stopped struggling, you actually want to pull back on the left stick, pull the rod up into the air, and then quickly wind the right stick to reel it in while pushing forward on the left stick. So what you're doing is you're creating some play in the line, and then you're reeling it all in at once. And you can get the fish very quickly if you do this effectively and just take giant chunks off of the line with it. Sometimes you can even get the fish after it's struggled one single time. It takes a little bit to master, but once you do, it's really easy to fish for things, and there's a lot of benefits to fishing as well. The number one benefit is that you can gain honor pretty quickly from just fishing and then throwing the fish back. That's a really positive thing. I've seen a lot of people mention it on previous videos, especially my one about honor. It doesn't cost you any money. It's fairly fast. I still think that walking around a city and greeting people is a lot quicker, but this will give you definite amounts of honor, and it's pretty fun to do. You can play a mini game for free, catch fish. If you get a really good fish, you keep it. There's other benefits, and then throw back the ones you don't want and gain honor. Another benefit is the unique reward that you get from catching all of the legendary fish, but this is kind of hard to do. There's some that are hard to get to, and I won't spoil what the reward is. In fact, I'm not even there myself. I'm pretty close, but I already know what it is. It is something cool for going around and hunting down all those legendaries. Now, also, when you're catching a legendary fish, you will put it on the back of your horse or put it in your bag when you are successful. You need to deliver those to the post office. I've seen a lot of people talking about taking them to the trapper. That's actually incorrect. You take them to the post office, and then you mail them back to the legendary fisherman that tasked you with finding them all and gave you the map. There's a couple other ways to fish as well that are pretty cool, but very damaging to your honor. The first is just regular dynamite. If you toss a stick of dynamite after you light it into any area where there are a bunch of fish, it will detonate, it will kill all the fish in the area, and they will just float to the surface, and then you can collect them. It's a lot faster, but it will severely damage your honor, and it will tank very fast if you're using this method. Another method very similar is to use dynamite arrows. I've heard people talk about this, but it's the same effect. It will damage your honor. It will detonate. It's a really easy thing to do. Just shoot them. It blows up. Boom, the fish come to the surface. It's just another tactic of fishing. I prefer the fishing rod itself. I think that that's vastly superior. I think the benefits far outweigh the drawbacks of it taking a little bit of increased time. However, you get so many other rewards as you increase your honor. If you're doing a lot of fishing, you will get discounts in shops. You'll get more loot from, corpses and other activities. There's so many benefits to having positive honor, and fishing can help you get there. And there are not very many benefits, if any at all, to having low honor or being a true outlaw. Keep in mind that you always need to cycle through the correct lure, especially for legendaries, based on the location that you're at. It's a river or a lake or a swamp. They all have unique lures. Sometimes I was fishing with the wrong one. It's probably a redundant thing to say, but make sure that you're always scrolling through your wheel so you don't waste the time that you would have spent otherwise catching things with the wrong thing equipped. There really isn't that much else to say. Fishing is honestly pretty fun, and I hated it at first because I didn't understand the mechanics. But once I figured out that you do not constantly hold the line, you have to give large fish slack, otherwise it will always snap, and it's really frustrating when that happens. And also when I, dialed in where to cast my line, don't cast it far. If you cast it far, it's just that much extra time to make a mistake, and sometimes it can feel like you're not even making any progress. You'll be reeling that thing in for minutes and just constantly spinning the right stick, and you'll get nowhere, and it's really frustrating. So cast the line pretty close to you, and then give it a little bit of slack for a half a second every 3 or so seconds while it's struggling. This will make sure it doesn't snap while you lead it in the opposite direction. It'll get tired, and then yank up on the rod, and then reel it all in at once as you push the left stick forward again. That'll help you reel it in quickly. No reason to really drag the video on longer than it needs to be. If you do want to grab one of these shirts right here, they're available yet again for just a short time longer. We have a bunch of different things, hoodies, t-shirts, long sleeves even, and a bunch of different colors. So the Outlaw, Lawman, Dual, Red Dead 2 personality shirt right here, grab it if you want it. There are other ways to support the channel in the description down below. We have a Facebook community, a Discord community. We have our own website, forums. I do live stream on YouTube now, so if you want to catch a live broadcast where I kind of talk about all these things and prep for videos and just sort of have general discussion, hit the notification bell. That's the best way to actually get notified that I'm going live. I don't really stream on Twitch anymore. If you want to follow Twitch, I still have a channel over there, and I will stream again in the future for different games, but for Red Dead Redemption 2 right now, I'm streaming on YouTube. But if you're more of a Twitch viewer, drop that a follow. Best way to reach me is through Twitter. If you want to follow there and send me a message, if you have ideas for videos, if you have general questions, or anything really, that's the optimal way to reach me. But I'll stop rambling there if there's no need to continue. Thank you for watching yet again, and as always, have a nice night.